Happy Fitness Friday!
Good morning, everybody. Happy Fitness Friday. Today we are going to show you a summer sizzler core workout.
Say that 5 times fast.
We just did, and it's hard.
We were practicing our alliteration.
Well, welcome everyone. It's looking like our connection is weak in this room. So let us know as you're coming on if there's any connectivity issues on your end, and we'll make sure that we correct that as soon as we can.
Yes. And you know what, I can give you the Wi-Fi code. Oh, let's do it. We'll be right back.
Oh, wait. Oh, there's people.
There's 3 of them.
Do us a favor, folks. If you come in, say hello and let us know that you can hear us. Please.
Nice. Okay, now we've got 7.
Should
8.
we keep going?
I think we should start it again.
Oh.
Now it's
now we're
looking
good.
good.
Okay.
Oh, hey.
You can hear us.
We've got a thumbs up.
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll start.
Hey, Marcin.
Hello, Marcin. All right, we'll start with intros then.
Yes.
I'm Dr. Ayla Donlin.
And I'm Emily Sopo.
And they can hear us just fine.
Yay.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you.
Great. We are your Myzone Master Trainers. I hold my doctoral degree in educational leadership. Both Emily and myself hold master's degrees in kinesiology, Emily in exercise science, myself in sport and exercise psychology. We're both certified personal trainers and group fitness instructors as well. And of course, we use the Myzone system in our personal workouts and with our clients. And we're delighted to bring you content every Friday.
We certainly are, and today is no different. Today we're going to work our core, and before we do that, we want to let you know where you can learn more about Myzone.
Yes.
So of course, if you're watching live, you know how to find Myzone on the Facebook page, on Myzone's Facebook page. You can also check out more about Myzone at myzone.org, where you can read our blog. You can also look at the Myzone Moves YouTube channel, which is where all of our previous Fitness Fridays are stored. Hey, Kimberly. Hey, Marcin. And yeah, you can also check out Myzone all over social media.
Yes, and if you want to go back and catch previous Fitness Friday live broadcasts, did you already say this? Go to the Myzone Moves YouTube channel. You said that.
Yeah.
Okay. I missed it because I was wanting to say good morning and hello to Kimberly. Right on. And Emily, high five, because we just finished our 100th blog to go on the myzone.org Master Trainer blog.
Yeah.
So we've been developing content for a while now, and we just celebrated our 100th blog. So there is a lot of content available to you.
So much.
And this particular blog, the Summer Sizzler Core Workout, is available on the myzone.org website. So if you'd like to follow along, it actually might be really helpful as you're watching this broadcast to follow along, because there's some pictures of the core muscles that we're going to be talking about, and the workout is all laid out for you in the blog.
Yes.
Shall we get right into it?
Let's do this.
Okay. So we often talk about working our core or working our abs, and I think oftentimes people think if I just do 1,000 crunches, then I'm going to get a 6-pack.
Yeah.
And there's so much more involved. Of course, there's the whole nutritional side of the house, which is actually a huge part of having definition of our abdominal or core musculature. But then it's also really important to work our core muscles in specific ways. And in this particular broadcast, we're going to be talking about muscles, abdominal muscles and back muscles. Sometimes with the core, you'll hear people incorporate the hip musculature as well. So we're going to be talking mostly about abdominal muscles and muscles in the back when we're referring to core muscles today. Yes. So we're going to talk through the muscles, the major muscles of the abdomen and the back, and then we're going to talk about how we need to move those muscles in multiple planes of motion. And you've heard us talk about those 3 planes before. So let's get right into it with major movements and actions of the trunk are spinal stabilization, where we're holding ourselves nice and stable. Compression of the abdomen, and you'll hear this sometimes as like zipping up the zipper or pulling your belly button in. Trunk flexion, trunk extension, trunk rotation, and lateral trunk flexion. And we'll go through those again in a moment. And then the major muscles that we're going to talk about today are the multifidi, transverse abdominis, rectus abdominis, erector spinae, and your internal and external obliques. So let's get into the muscles first. I'm going to talk about the multifidi briefly, and I think this is a muscle group that we don't talk about too often when we think about core musculature, but it is one of the smallest yet one of the most powerful muscles that gives support to our spine. It originates in your posterior sacrum, so on the back lower part of your body, down here in your sacrum. And then it's going to run all the way up along your vertebral column and inserts along the spinous process of each vertebra all the way up to your cervical too. So all the way from your lumbar spine through your thoracic into your cervical spine. So your multifidus muscle is very responsible for spinal stability through all of our major core movements. That leads to the erector spinae, which rests above or in front of the multifidus muscle. And that is 3 columns of muscles that run parallel up either side of your vertebral column. Primarily responsible for trunk extension, but we'll talk a little bit more about the role that they play too. So those are 2 primary back muscles, your multifidus and your erector spinae.
Okay, let's cover now 2 abdominal muscles that you may or may not be familiar with. I know many of us are familiar with our rectus abdominis. That is the most superficial layer of muscle in our abdominal region. It's our 6-pack muscle responsible for flexion of our spine, right?
Yes.
So a crunch would be an example of an exercise that would work the rectus abdominis, but we want to train, like Ayla was saying, our core in many different ways because it's not just about the rectus abdominis.
Exactly.
Right. The next muscle that I want to discuss is the transverse abdominis. This is one of our very deep core muscles or abdominal muscles. It lies on the front and the side of our abdominal wall, and it does several important things. First, it's deep to the obliques. Ayla's going to discuss the obliques in just a moment here.
Yes, I am.
But it also increases the pressure of our abdomen to support our spine. So it's really important in that stability that we have to maintain when we're just moving out through our daily life. It also acts in forced expiration, so we exhale, and then compression of our abdominal organs. And thanks for, yay, Amanda, I'm so glad that you're getting good value out of this.
Yes, and Amanda, make sure that you also check out then the Myzone Moves YouTube channel because there's a lot of resource available for you there.
Yes. Shall we talk about the obliques?
Let's get into the obliques.
Okay.
Internal and external obliques. Okay, so your internal obliques, I need both hands for this one. Your internal obliques are going to kind of wrap around and move in this direction, and then superficial to that are your external obliques, which run in this fashion. So we have internal obliques and external obliques, and they work together on opposing sides of your body. So your internal oblique, the origin is back in your lumbar fascia, the outer portion of your inguinal ligament, which runs kind of right in this area in your hip, and then your iliac crest, that's the top of your hip kind of into the front. And so your internal oblique wraps around this way. Your external oblique originates on the outer surface of your lower 8 ribs, and then it inserts actually all across your abdomen from your xiphoid process into your linea alba, your pubic crest, and then also on the outer part of your anterior half of your iliac crest. So these are big muscles that fan all the way across from your back, across your abdomen, and they're responsible for trunk rotation and lateral flexion of the spine. So that's a good segue actually into our major movements, working our core.
Yeah, absolutely. And just real quick, for those of you who are maybe not familiar with the anatomy of the core, if you just Google, you know, whatever the muscle is that we're talking about, you can of course see on the Myzone blog that Ayla wrote up for this one. It's really easy to find out kind of what it looks like if you want a little bit more info.
Yeah, and I think that's really helpful because then when you're moving, you can, in a sense, visualize which muscles you're working and what they look like. And I think particularly with the obliques, it's helpful for me to know what they look like because then when I'm moving, I'm visualizing how I'm working them. Yeah, right on. Okay, so let's go into movements. As we mentioned previously, not only for the purposes of creating a balanced body and the most stable core that you can work from, moving in multiple planes when we do core work also enhances our abdominal aesthetics. So if you're going for the 6-pack, the appealing abdominal musculature from an aesthetic standpoint, you also want to work in multiple planes. So we're going to break down planes of motion and how our abdominal and back musculature integrates into those planes.
Yes. Shall we start with sagittal?
Do it,
I'll
girl.
do it. Okay. So we've got 3 planes of motion. I'm going to cover the first 2. And if you're watching at home and you want to do this with me, let's do it.
Yeah.
So the first plane of motion is the sagittal plane of motion. This is going to be moving forward and moving back. It's going to be trunk flexion and extension, arms moving forward and backward. This is the most common plane that we move in day to day, right? Because we walk, because we sit at our desk. So this is a plane of motion that we're probably most familiar with and that most of us probably train in the most. But we do want to make sure that we're not just doing sagittal movement. We want to get into those other planes as well. Now the next plane of motion is the frontal plane of motion. This is movement side to side. So in terms of the trunk, it would be lateral flexion. If you were doing like a leg movement, you'd be moving side to side, right?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, do you want to talk about
Transverse?
the muscles? No, transverse. Let's do it.
Yeah. Do you want me to hop in?
Yeah, please.
Okay, great. So do you want to, real quick, Emily, go over which muscles are involved in those planes, or do you want to save that?
I got excited, so
Okay.
I do want to do that.
She
Yeah.
was just so excited to show you how to move in those 3 planes.
Makes me happy. It's like a dance. Okay, so in the sagittal plane, like I was saying, moving forward and backward, the movements for the trunk would be trunk flexion here and trunk extension, or spinal flexion, spinal extension. The primary muscles involved in trunk flexion, like I said before, are going to be the rectus abdominis, those 6-pack muscles. And then for trunk extension, it's going to be the erector spinae. For the frontal plane, that was moving side to side, thank you, Ayla, for lateral trunk flexion, we would have a lot of muscles involved in that, particularly the rectus abdominis, the erector spinae, and our obliques, internal and external. So a lot of muscles involved in that.
Yes. Trunk rotation. So when we're doing a rotational exercise, this is our transverse plane, and primary muscles involved here are your internal and external obliques. And as mentioned previously, throughout all 3 planes of motion, we are compressing our abdomen and we are stabilizing our spine. So our transverse abdominis and our multifidus muscle are involved in all 3 planes of motion because we're compressing our abdomen and stabilizing our spine.
Yes.
All right, so now the summer Sizzler core workout. We've designed for you 7 exercises, and you're going to go through 6 sets of all 7 exercises. This blog is full of S's. The summer Sizzler core workout, where you do 6 sets of 7 exercises.
Ooh.
Sister Susie sells seashells by the seashore. Ha! So go through all 7 exercises for your first set, and then start at the beginning and go again. So we're going to start out with inchworms. Emily's going to demo, and I'm going to be talking about the Myzone zone that you can be targeting, and then the plane, the movement, some of the primary muscles involved, and then I'll give you the reps or duration as well.
Okay.
So in the inchworm, you want to demo for us, Em?
Oh, do I ever?
Awesome.
Oh. See, my leg is here.
Yeah. Well, I can change the angle as you get going.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I'm standing up, and I'm just going to come down.
Yep.
Okay.
Walk your hands out. And you can walk your hands in and out, or you can walk your feet up to your hands, however you want to work that. Beautiful. And Emily, would you mind continuing with that?
Sure.
And I'll explain. As you're doing the inchworm, the target zone that we would recommend is the green zone, a moderate intensity zone. Your primary plane of motion, as you can see, is the sagittal plane, trunk flexion, trunk extension, and of course you're compressing your abdomen. So you're using rectus abdominis, erector spinae, transverse abdominis, and multifidus. Do 10 reps, walking your hands out and back. Beautifully done, Em. Then move into front and side plank.
Okay, Ayla's going to demonstrate the front and the side plank. You might be familiar, very familiar with the plank. We've done it many a time. So with the plank, the front plank that Ayla is demonstrating now, she is holding, actually, this is an isometric exercise. It would be holding in the sagittal plane. She's using trunk stabilization. You can see she's really, really stable throughout this exercise. Using the rectus abdominis, she's going to hold for 30 seconds on each side. But now Ayla is also performing compression of her abdomen, and she's having to really hold her spine stable. So she has those deeper core muscles working as well in the back, transverse abdominis, the obliques, everything. Now she moves to the side. Beautiful. Now she is holding in the frontal plane. It's a side movement, right, or side hold. She is focusing on lateral trunk stabilization. And again, she's working just about every muscle that she can in her core right now. Her erector spinae, her rectus abdominis, I already said erector spinae, but again, just to highlight it, her internal and external obliques. And of course, she is again compressing her abdomen, so her transverse abdominis and the muscles in her back.
Yes, and I'm showing a modification by placing my inside knee down. That's a nice modification. You can stack your feet or you can spread your feet. You can see what option works best for you.
Yes. Awesome.
All right. On to the Palov press.
Yes.
All right, Emily's going to show you the Palov press. This is actually one of my favorite core exercises. Is that giving you the right angle right there?
So.
Perfect. All right, and in the Palov press, you are compressing your abdomen, you're stabilizing your spine, and I like to take a soft, and you saw Emily just do this, a soft posterior pelvic tilt, where you're tucking your tailbone underneath you, or you're pulling your pubic symphysis kind of up and in. So here, you would aim for blue or green. You're working in the frontal plane because you're stabilizing in the frontal plane. And you're working the transverse plane, again, because you're stabilizing. And you're compressing your abdomen and stabilizing your spine.
Yeah.
Emily's also doing a press, because that's part of the Palov press. That's happening in the, it's kind of a tricky one, a little bit like transverse plane, and so you're providing stabilization there as well.
Yeah, I'm pushing, this is sagittal for my arms, right? But if we're focusing on my core, I'm trying to resist the rotation in that transverse plane, so my abs have to really work as I push.
Yeah, and that's where it gets tricky though too, because horizontal abduction and adduction,
Yeah.
sometimes there's controversy on which plane that belongs in. So you're working rectus abdominis, erector spinae, internal external oblique, transverse abdominis, and your multifidi. Perform 10 reps on each side. So you do 10 reps facing this direction, flip around 10 reps the other way.
If you really want to kill her at the end, you just hold it and squeeze. Rough,
Nice.
but amazing. It's good exercise.
Reverse crunch.
Okay, next up is the reverse crunch. Ayla's going to demo this for us right here. So Ayla is laying on her back. She's holding on to the pillar there, and she's lifting her hips up off the ground with a lot of control here. You can see that she's being purposeful not to go too high to compress her spine, or her cervical spine, her neck area, and she's breathing. So this exercise, we want to focus on being in the blue zone. We're working primarily in the sagittal plane with trunk flexion like she's doing now, and trunk extension like she just did there. She's working her rectus abdominis and her erector spinae, and she would do 10 repetitions. Looking good, Ayla?
All right, thanks, Sam. Next exercise is plank with rotation.
Okay.
So Emily's going to set up in a plank like we showed previously, but she's going to be adding rotation into the plank. Sometimes this is called threading the needle. So she's working sagittal plane, frontal plane, and transverse plane. So she's performing trunk stabilization, lateral trunk stabilization, trunk rotation, compression of the abdomen, and providing spinal stability. So this is getting every single muscle group that we talked about: rectus abdominis, erector spinae, internal external obliques, transverse abdominis, and multifidi. Do 10 reps on each side. Beautifully done, and
really gotta squeeze tight.
yes.
Okay.
Do the walking bear.
This is actually one of my very favorite core exercises that Ayla's going to demonstrate right now. It's called the walking bear. So Ayla's on all fours. She has a nice flat back. You can see that there. So she's not rounding or arching. And she's just going to step out to the side, trying to keep her hips nice and stable. Very good, Ayla. You can just keep on doing that while I explain. It's not too hard, right?
No.
So in this exercise, it is a little bit more dynamic. We'd expect your heart rate to come up a little bit higher than with some of those other exercises, aiming for the green zone. She's working in a lot of different planes, my friends, sagittal, frontal, and then of course she's compressing her abdomen. So she's really working all the groups, the muscle groups that we already discussed, working on trunk stabilization, lateral trunk stabilization as she moves to the side, and compressing the abdomen. So you do 10 reps on each side. Very nice.
Last exercise, swimmers.
Ooh, okay, this is me.
Yeah, this is you, girl. All right, when we perform swimmers, we're laying down prone, and we're performing trunk extension, trunk hyperextension, compression of the abdomen, and providing spinal stability. So we're working the erector spinae primarily, a little bit transverse abdominis because we have compression of the abdomen, and the multifidi, the muscle that runs up along your vertebral column. You'd perform 10 reps on each side, or like Emily's doing, you just continuously swim. So you can kick your legs like you're swimming, you can reach your arms like you're swimming, and count 10 on each side. That concludes the summer Sizzler core workout. That's a good one, friends. So
Yeah.
you do all 7 of those exercises, go through those reps or the duration, and then start back at the beginning again.
Yeah.
Yeehaw.
And one set is quick, right? So then doing the 6 is not going to be too long.
No, I would anticipate that this entire workout would take you 10 to 15 minutes in total. So you could tack it on to the end of another workout, like if you were doing a cardio workout, or even if you were doing a resistance training workout, you could tack it on to the end, or maybe you're going to use it kind of as a warm-up at the beginning for some core activation.
Yeah. Or you can do it after one of those 100 MEP earning workouts that we did last
The
week,
100
right?
MEP busting workouts.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, thank you guys as always. If you do have any questions or even requests for future topics, let us know in the comment section below this video. We always try to make sure that we answer as many questions as possible and are covering what you want to learn.
Yes, and for those of you who are going to be at the Idea World Fitness Conference, we will be there with Myzone, so come say hello at the Myzone booth. And the Idea Fitness Conference is July 19th through the 23rd. So come into the trade show and say hey at the Myzone booth, and we're going to be having a heart rate recovery game, a little competition. So come and play with us.
Yeah, and thank you guys for all the lovely comments. You are awesome, and we love being here with you every Friday.
Yes, we do.
So until next week,
Keep moving forward. Have a
Bye.
great weekend, everybody.